We in INDSAMACHAR are content and happy to bring out a series of interviews which we're doing, which may be called a report card before 2024 for the government at the center. We are also going to focus for Tamil Nadu 2026, and we will be moving into other states as well. The strategy is to start talking to the common person. When I say common person, it doesn't mean he's not qualified or he's not this thing. We're planning to talk to an ordinary worker. From that stage, we will go into academic people, we'll go to directors of companies, we will go to people who are a recognized person in the society before we turn and start looking at the politicians per se of the various parties. We begin with Professor Madhu Krishna, and he is a well-known artist and is also a director of Signet, to share his thoughts on what he perceives as a report card. Good evening. On behalf of IndSamachar, we are planning a series of, I wouldn't call the word interview, a discussion with a group of people pan-India from various fields, from artists to real artists, from chartered accountants to accountants, from lawyers to better lawyers and good lawyers, and so on. We are planning to do this pan-India, and we would be using the local language and English. Today we have with us Professor Madhu Krishna, who's going to talk to us about his thoughts of little into the past, the present, and what he foresees for the future for India, Bharat, our nation. வணக்கம். இன்சமாச்சார் சார்பாக நான் இங்கே பேராசிரியர் மது கிருஷ்ணாவை, அதை பேட்டி என்று சொல்வதா இல்லை விவாதம் என்று சொல்வதா என்று தெரியவில்லை, அவரை சந்திக்க வந்துள்ளேன். I am planning to do a series of discussions with people from various levels, from a commoner to what people say is a popular person, and then you have a leader. All kinds of definitions are given to people who are well known. My intention is to look at it as how a common person views the present, the past, and what is likely to be the future. Welcome, Professor Madhu Krishna. I am happy to join you. And we at INDSAMACHAR believe that the person whom we are talking to is more important than the person who is raising the questions. And therefore, I will only raise the questions, and you can feel free to talk about your personal views on the issues raised.
Right. All right, sir.
Professor, 2014 in Indian political history was a turning point, like a lot of people keep saying. How do you define it as a turning point?
Yeah. 2014, yes, of course it was a defining and turning point, no doubt about it. Until then, we had a government which was known for its corruption, scams. And at one point of time, we all had lost hope on this government, the ex-government. And there was so much of anger, frustration, and that kind of a, total, irritation. And we professionals were all, totally disappointed, and also became a mute witness of the whole thing, not knowing what to do about the whole thing. And then came this 2014 elections, and then we started hearing the fantastic speeches of the present leader. It was roaring speeches, and it was all changing, life-changing speeches. And each speech was, it was very, very powerfully worded, and then that gave us tremendous amount of hope and positivity, as well as, we all were euphoric, as you said. That was a state of orgasmic state we reached when we heard all that fantastic promises. And then, of course, collectively, as we all know, we did vote for this new government, though we didn't know much about their policies or much about their own ideas, because we didn't do much research at that time. We just wanted to show our anger by electing a kind of an alternate government. That was what happened in 2014.
I'll come into the role of Tamil Nadu a little later in 2014, but let's talk at the national level. You said we wanted this change, though we didn't know policies.
Yes.
We wanted the change because of the scams of the past.
Yeah.
We wanted the change because it was needed. Fine.
Right.
But at the same time, what is opposition today, which was then the ruling party, turned back and called. In fact, Mr. Modi, there's two definitions of a murderer. One is the present opposition calling him a murderer and things like that. And the other one was one which I liked about Cho Ramaswamy, who called him murderer of corruption, murder of that and murder of this. And that's how we welcomed Modi to the stage in Tamil Nadu.
Right.
Where do you think whether that point particularly played a role in him being projected as a prime minister, or it was done essentially to ensure that he was elected the prime minister?
Yeah, you see, what has happened here, I would not, I can only think from my viewpoint, seeing that he might be a tall leader and he did a wonderful, image building exercise for India. When that happened, basically soon after he was elected, he was concerned about brand building of India, which I thought was fantastic exercise. Like people like us involved in international businesses, we were given tremendous respect. All of a sudden, the respect for Indians changed overnight. They were all giving extraordinary reception to us, and they were all listening to our viewpoints. And suddenly, India came into the limelight, the global limelight, and also they were accepting that India to be the next superpower. That is a kind of a talk we all had during those days, especially when the image building exercise was carried out by our Prime Minister. Then, of course, as we know, things did happen, but the momentum was lost somewhere, and we don't know what had happened. We are now in a fix. We don't know what to react, how to react.
No, honestly speaking, being a practitioner of law, judiciary is gone to the dogs.
Correct.
I don't deny it.
Yes.
I will not say that there are not other areas where focus should have been there, but it's not there. But I can understand the predicament of the office of the Prime Minister. I'm not talking about the man, I'm talking about the office of the Prime Minister.
Right.
But frustrations apart, personally, do you or do you not admire the growth as a nation we have had under his leadership?
Yeah. I would really, I'm not denying that fact that we have not had any changes. We have had enough number of positive changes all around. No doubt about it. It's like few things are not in alignment to at least my thinking. Like things like education, for that matter, has not been given due importance, especially when we know that ours is a young country with nearly 28% demographically 0 to 14 years, and then from 14 to 68 is 68% or something, beyond 60%. So being the youngest and effervescent country, I'm not even sure whether education has been given importance at all. That is because we don't see anything in the direction of education. I don't see anything at all happening there. They're talking about changing the textbooks. I don't know what changes. I mean, the education cannot be changed by correcting the textbooks. We need to think really, really lateral in terms of educating people. Because we know without education being the important factor, I mean, how are we going to, take this country to the future is my pressing question now. That is what my present whole focus is on that. That has not been addressed. That's what people like us, that's what we are concerned now.
Professor, there's a lot of hue and cry. I'm not going to mention names. All of us know who they are. In fact, some of them, thanks to our honorable judiciary, have gone abroad to crib about our country and spread venom. The question here is, are their claims even have elements of truth in their claims of polarization of Hindus and what should I say? I should say heinous crimes against the minority?
Yeah. You see, it has been unfortunate, like in a diverse kind of a cultural patterns what we follow, diversity. Certain section is not at all happy all the time. They're not content for whatever be the reason, creating unwanted complications. And added to that, we always seem to have a soft corner trying to please everybody. I don't know whether it's correct or not is one big question. We know the kind of agenda what they have, and still we want to be nice to them, and we don't seem to understand to speak in their language, correct them, or maybe put them in order. We don't do. We are so helpless. So naturally there seems to be some kind of anarchy somewhere all the time taking place, taking the nation into some kind of a restlessness state. I don't see harmony, I don't see that kind of a pleasant living. Generally speaking, it could be better. We don't know. I'm not sure whether that is being handled with a stern hand or not.
Professor, let's talk about this roller skating business. 2014 was a cakewalk.
Absolutely.
2019 was, putting the cake on icing.
Okay.
That is what you people claim.
Right.
But then I see a lot of people, and I'm going to include you as well, a little frustrated with what's happening.
Yeah.
Can we know why?
Sure. One is, like I told you, the education has not been given importance. And also I feel when there are certain stalwarts in the government, they are not given enough opportunities, or they are not given enough kind of a limelight. I mean, they're all being shunted out, they're all being kept away. We always see only one man there. It's all becoming like a one-man army kind of a show, which I feel, like sometimes, it could be too much of a task for one man to handle so many things happening all the time. So why not we delegate things, and why not we, especially when we know that we have talented and we have such powerful people with us, why not we empower them? Why not we all work as a teamwork instead of taking the responsibility collectively, and why do Prime Minister have to carry the entire load on him? Is a kind of a perception or a kind of feeling or visual image I get. I may not be correct, but that's what I feel, which is one thing which I'm not very sure. And secondly, the frustration is because when we know certainly when things are going wrong, we are unable to correct it, or we are not able to do anything about it. That is one thing. Thirdly, the silence from the government. They don't seem to have enough spokespersons addressing the issues, calling for kind of a, basically to address the issues, to establish clarity. All that is very irritating and very, very, frustrating. Because when things are happening, I only hear whispers here and there, but there is no clarity from the government. And especially like in Bengal, some massacre happened of opposed violence. And did I hear anything at all strongly? Did the government come very strongly? They were in whispers, like these kind of things. And of course, it's very we don't know whether they have that kind of a guts. We don't know whether they have that kind of a strength to be able to manage all the entire India. Sometimes I have my own doubts, or whether they have bitten off too much, they are not able to chew, or we don't know. These are the kind of frustration points.
Let's take a little divergence and come into Tamil Nadu now. Personally, I've been against DMK right from 1967 onwards. But this is personal.
Yeah.
Because I felt that they've never been on the right path or the right track. The present situation, God given, whatever it is, they've come back to power. Now there's a lot of discussion as to who is the opposition, in terms of numbers or in terms of people or in terms of views. What is your take on that?
See, this is an interesting question, like DMK, of course, they played it very well, because the entire communication systems, especially they have got their own magazines, they have their own newspapers, they have the circuit of television channels, and every common man seemed to have fallen for their kind of a gimmicks or whatever it is.
They also have sumo cars and lorries with people, Professor.
What is that?
Sumo cars and lorries with people carrying arms.
Yes, they seem to have mastered the art and they have their own style of operation. But I think we have very strange equations here. This people following the DK movement and people following that movement. They seem to be totally, I don't know whether to call them ignorant or whether to call them illiterates, or they don't seem to see the big picture at all. They all appear to me, in my eyes, the frog in the well. They're only talking about state and they're not even talking anything bigger than that. And they're lost in their own kind of a silly thoughts, which is all helpful for the DMK to survive here. They seem to be addressing only that particular community very well.
Let me just interrupt you for a minute. In other words, you're trying to say that from 67 onwards, Tamil Nadu has not become a part of a nationalist culture, but is a divisive culture. Is that what you're trying to say?
Absolutely. I don't have that patriotic fervor at all. I don't see that. They are only talking about their own land, their own language, I don't know, whatever, but I don't even see the culture coming out in the social media. Do they know to talk? Do they speak properly? Do they address themselves properly? Are they culturally matured enough to say nice words? I don't see anything happening there. Though they all proclaim to be coming from that kind of a ancient language, ancient culture, that's totally paradoxical. I don't understand it at all, one bit.
Getting back to the national scene, looking at the social media, I see a lot of frustration. There are definitions, Ahanda Bucks, anti-Bucks, and anti-Modi, that kind of a stand on one side, amongst those who claim that they are supporting BJP.
Yeah.
But on the other side, you see what people are termed as Lutyens, the Khan Market gang, the liberals, whatever terminology which you want to use. Ultimately, we are talking about very simple thing, ruling party versus against the ruling party.
Right.
Now I see more of divisiveness in the ruling party support. Is there a reason behind it?
Yeah, you see that because, when we're talking of opposition, unfortunately we don't have opposition now. So to be fair enough, say, though the irritation comes from the fact that although we have a majority there, but are we acting like a majority party at all? I don't see that strength there. I always feel that they are in opposition and somebody else is in the power. So though they have 303 or whatever seats, are they really in power is my question now. So naturally there's many people are frustrated with this kind of a cowardice and this kind of a, I don't know what you call it, a cowardice, or you call it I don't know whether is it a kind of a fear, or is it kind of a inexperience? What exactly, what is blocking them? They could really come out very strongly, but that strength is not visible on the outer. So that's the reason why there's so much of confusion even among the supporters. Though we do support, at the same time we also frustrated now. So there's a diabolical it is now. We don't know what. We ourselves are confused now. Do we want to support BJP, or we want to find out their faults and find out, because then we are all started becoming like an opposition now. Opposition within the supporters now. Because it will be lack of opposition from the outside is the one major issue. We don't have opposition. That's one of the major reasons for our frustration.
Professor, one last question for this session. I will be coming back to you on various other subjects, but this time it will be absolutely political, I can assure you that. One last question is that you use the word frustration. Now it's a very strong term, technically speaking.
All right.
Is it frustration, or is it expectation not having been done by the ruling party?
Absolutely. Very correct. You are right, because it's a frustration combined with anger, combined with our own failure of, maybe we think that we have presumed and expected too many things from the government, which I think is our mistake, I feel sometimes. Because did we imagine too many things, or did we anticipate too many things? Is one question we always ask ourselves, and maybe sometimes we are right, maybe we are wrong. We should not have been expecting too many things, because as we know, India is a large country, and to get away or to streamline a system which is outdated, system of 70 years, corrupt system, a system with loopholes, a system which is completely defunct. How would you change anything like that unless we go in for a total reboot of the system? Is not possible. Our PM is trying to do his best, but I don't know whether he has found a method, or he has found a methodology to correct it or reboot it. I am not very sure about it.
Vande Mataram. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much.